Ashes of Creation, a bigger scam than a certain dual citizenship financier offering you to show you his island. Hey, at least then you honestly got something. In this case, you just lost money.
They couldn't have picked a better name for the thing because now Ashes is all that we are left with. Today we're talking about the biggest
True.
MMO in Kickstarter history and its implosion.
Oh wow, look at that list, boys. I'm pretty sure Camelot Unchained is done. And yeah, this one was definitely done. Wow.
And its implosion. The founder has resigned in a very eyebrow-raising way. Staff have been fired.
Well, actually, the founder fired the CEO, who turns out is the founder and the board and the CEO. It all makes sense if you don't think about it.
Have got no pay, and the game has been pulled from Steam, where it only launched 2 months ago. And as fans are raging, rightly, at the collapse of a game 8 years in the making that never even reached beta,
I'm not. I am not even close to raging. I am absolutely delighted and entertained, okay? Next Ashes of Creation, I cannot honestly wait because it's grade A cinema. What else can I honestly tell you? All these people, there's so many people who literally just closed down their YouTube channel because their whole life was Ashes of Creation, and well, it doesn't exist, does it?
insiders are telling of a mysterious new owner who killed the company rather than keep spending. Ashes of Creation was kickstarted in 2017. It was a hyper-ambitious MMO from a brand new team, Intrepid Studios, that wanted 750,000 USD and ended up raising 3.2 million, making it the most funded MMO on the platform at the time.
There are some people who are saying that the Kickstarter for Ashes of Creation also looks kind of sus. I have not gone into any of that. I do not know. But, I mean, it's Ashes of Creation is a scam, and it's made by a guy who got his riches through multi-level marketing schemes, okay? And his whole family is like that. So, I would not be surprised that the Kickstarters actually failed to just drum up a lot of, eyes on it.
As we all know, Kickstarter MMOs have really by now got a hell of a track record. Now, it was also that Stephen Sharif, the game's founder and creative director, could build the dynamic, faction-driven MMO that he had always dreamt of. And throughout development, his public position was clear. And this is what's getting them into hot water. The game was self-funded. There were no investors. There would be no board to answer to. That's going to make a message we'll talk about soon seem a little bit funny. Now, what followed was 8 years of, I think, what we can only call messiness. A battle royale was launched in 2018, ostensibly to test mechanics, and then it was shut down by 2020. Now,
I did not even know that. What?
the alpha continued from 2021 onward, with premium backers getting hands-on access. And when I say premium backers, in some cases, I really do mean the premium, though I don't think the Ashes people have quite outdone the whales of Star Citizen. But then, in December 2025, Ashes of Creation was released on Steam in early access. It was still an alpha, and it was in a state that many users found unacceptable for a...
Yeah, needless to say, it is unacceptable. At the very beginning, I was kind of positive about Ashes of Creation, but I mean, very quickly I changed my tone because let's be absolutely real. Almost 10 years have passed since Ashes of Creation was started, and in that time we have in total. Again, the shills are gonna tell you, oh, it's actually almost finished. It's 2 years. No, 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 no. If you look at if you look at what is finished, what was promised, and what is inaccessible, in 10 years they have not even finished like 5% of the game. Maybe 5% of the game has been finished. I honestly doubt it. I don't think it's even 5% because from all of the map that's supposed to be accessible, it's like 1/3, if you're being generous, is accessible, and that's not even close to being finished. There's one zone that can almost be considered finished, almost, but it's still garbage and it needs a lot of work. None of the systems are finished, none of the classes are finished, nothing is finished. The game is literally not even close to being finished in 10 years. And you had so many people like, I believe Ashes of Creation is going to be done in 2 or 3 years at this point. I made so many videos saying at this rate, it looks like Ashes of Creation is not going to be done in 5 years. It needs 10 more years to be finished. Maybe. Maybe that's not even enough.
Paid product. Reviews were mixed, and signs that this release hadn't gone well internally were already beginning to show. And it's the sort of thing where there are a lot of cool bones in the game, and once people would get to endgame, be able to do, say, the stuff with the boats.
Oh, can we stop with this? Oh, the game has good bones. No, it doesn't. It's easier to make a new game than fix all of this garbage. Diablo 4 also had good bones. Where is it now? It's dead. Starfield also had good bones. Where is it now? Dead. Fallout 76 had good bones. Yeah, it's the Fallout formula. Where is it now? It's dead. Having good bones means nothing. I am so tired of people saying, "Oh, the game could be good." Yeah, the game could be good. This piece of shit could be edible. Doesn't mean it should be.
And I guess where a lot of the Arc Age inspirations came from, that's another MMO with a pretty disastrous history, sadly. There was a lot of cool stuff. However, leveling up was essentially just a humongous mob grind. The quest content wasn't really there, just a whole bunch of issues. And for a lot of people, while there were a lot of systems there, it seemed perplexing that it was so light in content for such a long development cycle. Now, I talked about signs not really being good. Well, 9 people were laid off from a team of 250 in late January. Okay, that's sucks for those people, but it's only 9 out of 250. Now, when this happened, Sharif posted, quote, "Development on Ashes is continuing forward." However, by the 29th of January, just a few days later, and all as players continued to worry, Intrepid released a statement trying to soothe people's concerns. "We remain deeply committed to making Ashes of Creation, a world worthy of your time, your stories, and your belief." That's a nice statement, but within a few days, well, it appeared that the entire development team would be laid off. And this is where things get honestly insane. I'll be real, if you don't want to code or you don't like games, skip.
No one wants to code because it's bad.
You on the spot. As first reported by PC Games N, the first sign came from the Director of Communications, Margaret Crone, who took to LinkedIn to announce that she was no longer at Intrepid. Now, she implied she wasn't the only one. She cited layoffs, so multiple. But then, Stephen Sharif followed with a statement on the Ashes of Creation Discord. However, this was a statement personally made by
I love that it's on Discord, by the way, because, I mean, YOLO.
Him, not a professional statement. In it, he alleged that he had lost control of the company. Quote, "The board began directing actions that I could not ethically agree with or carry out." He says that he quit and that most of the senior leadership team followed him in quitting.
Now, if you don't know this part of the story, take a wild guess. Did the guy who become rich by selling people snake oil actually, writes a truthful statement here, or maybe he himself is the board? Yes, he himself is the board, in fact.
In his words, everyone acted in good faith, but the board were issuing warn notices and proceeding with a mass layoff. LinkedIn posts from staff would follow, confirming what everybody feared. Basically, yeah, everyone was gone, and they had been told that they were done. Now, Stephen Sharif's post places him as the defender of this game, of the developers, and of the players against a faceless board. But, there's a lot to unpack with that.
I am Retep, and I am evil. Some of you will know the reference.
Because, how true is it? So there are things worth interrogating here. First, Intrepid's Warren report, which basically is stuff you file with the authorities whenever there's going to be big job losses, that was filed January 31st, and it was listed as a permanent closure affecting 123 remaining staff. However, there are other corporate filings, and they tell a rather more mundane story. So,
I don't know if this is true about the Warren Act because I have no idea about these things too much. I know it exists, but I don't know the small details. But people are saying that the Warren Act needs to be issued like in advance, like 2 months or something like that. So maybe this is a breach of California law that the Warren Act was issued this late.
Let me walk you through them. The most recent company documents are from December 30th, 2025. They're a delay in the annual report until 2027. And we see no board, no owners being listed here, just Stephen Sharif as the sole director and John Moore as the CFO, which is perfectly normal for this type of filing. But some in the community see this a little differently, shall we say, essentially reading it as evidence that Sharif is lying, and this is building on distrust that has been present since the game's announcement. Number one, for, being a crowdfunded MMO, but
it's okay. Zyback is gonna be dead in Steven's DMs and say that it's alright, baby, you did nothing wrong. Oh my god. There's some people who still are supporting this, by the way. There's always some insane people out there, huh? And the fun part is, Steven is still lurking around the Discord and reading what people are writing.
In this case, a bit more specifically, when he was linked to multi-level marketing schemes. Yes, MLMs, and ones that seem to reappear in Ashes of Creation's Kickstarter referral structure. Now, a purportedly leaked email to staff fills in a few gaps in this story. The company's finances are seemingly so bad that they can't pay staff for this month. This is something that's later been corroborated by Crone, who I mentioned earlier, who confirmed that the entire company had been let go. Now, the email suggests that plans aren't fully decided, but some of the 250 developers could stay to work on the game. Now, in light of that, the Steam launch does take on a more desperate tone, right? They needed money. Release the game on Steam, acquire money. Just that it maybe didn't go that well. But here's the thing. There are a lot of missing pieces. What about that board? You see, right now there's a board that doesn't actually appear in company documents. There's layoffs that both have and have not happened, and a pivot that seems to have came days after developers promised that they could...
By the way, none of this makes sense. The fact that Ashes of Creation needs money. Now, I don't know exactly the sources, but the sources for this are wild. So, one thing is Steven obviously lying about 30 million of his own investment. Some people are saying that Ashes of Creation has like a total of 100 million budget. And then there comes the problem that idiots like Asmongold have created by saying, well, of course Ashes of Creation is expensive. I know, Ashes of Creation probably burned $1 million in a week. Which he's fucking making up because someone just said that. Ashes of Creation burning $1 million in a week is absolutely fucking ridiculous. We did the math on this shit, okay? 250 employees and you're burning roughly 4 million a month? Steven is paying the highest absolute top dollar for absolutely nothing in that case. And that's definitely not happening. A guy who made his money through scamming people is not gonna give out money willy-nilly. So the idea that Ashes of Creation took almost $1 million a month to make is bullshit. It's pure bullshit. MMOs are expensive, but that's just absolute bull, because your biggest expense for any company pretty much is just staff. And again, with a price like that, we're talking about the average Ashes of Creation employee earning more than 80k a year. Yes. The average employee is making 80k a year with Ashes of Creation, which is completely bull, obviously.
Turn things around. When you piece together all the things that have came out and that various people have said thus far in the story, it doesn't add up. And that's where we're lucky, because insiders have spoken out. Reports from both YouTuber Kira and MMORPG.com have corroborated at least some of what seems to have happened behind the scenes. Kira doesn't claim to have all the facts, but says that his sources have been accurate before, and the allegations made here are very significant. So, in his version of events, an unnamed private equity group took over ownership of Intrepid Studios on Ashes of Creation. Then, on the 29th of January, Kira received a message confirming this. Sharif's resignation happened as he described, and most of the senior leadership followed him out the door. And the reason, well, plans to move production of the game offshore and outsource development, keeping under 100 of their 250 staff. This private equity group are the board that Sharif blamed, and after these resignations, their plans changed within the day. Because without leadership, the owners simply decided to just file for mass layoffs. And there's no money for severance, PTO that people are owed, overtime, any of that. And obviously there's not going to be money.
Now, the funniest thing, the people who are acquiring this are Steven's MLM buddies. Yes. So, it's just another scam. Not to mention Steven sold his house to his boyfriend. Yes, he has a boyfriend, surprise, surprise. And that's a thing, and he started protecting his assets months before this happened, so this was already known. It was pretty much fact, because Steven started protecting his assets, like, for example, selling his house to his boyfriend, which I don't think is gonna go through in court, because, yeah, okay. Unless you file for bankruptcy, you can't do that. Well, technically you can, but the courts have the ability to actually overrule this, that the house needs to be given back. It's a whole fucking mess, but a court can do that, because this is obviously not the first time in history someone has decided to, well, everything's going to shit in the 2 weeks. How about I just give all of my stuff away? And, you know, that's gonna be it. No, that doesn't work. Remember when I did that story about the stuff that can make that? There is a possibility, but there's no way that this is that case, because just selling your house for pennies to your boyfriend, yeah, the court's gonna take that back and make you sell it. Now, granted, this is what people are not talking about. Okay, this is what people are not talking about in the slightest, because everyone's an idiot who doesn't know anything about finance. You need to understand, Ashes of Creation is bankrupt. But Steven isn't. He has not declared bankruptcy. The company is defunct. But Steven himself is not. Which is very interesting, considering he put in 30 million of his own money and things like that. So, Steven effectively, from the fact that Steven's not bankrupt, but the company is, it only tells us one thing. He took all the money that he could, he made money probably, and he just dipped. That's what that means.
For that, when the salaries aren't being paid. So that's quite the story. Now, MMORPG.com sources do corroborate much of this. The numbers aren't exactly the same. They frame it as a skeleton crew originally staying to work in the game before basically that plan was abandoned in favor of a full layoff. They also confirm that staff aren't being paid whatsoever. Now,
oh yeah, and the thing about this skeleton crew is Steven's MLM buddies, who now own Ashes of Creation, they said that they have absolutely no reason to keep up the dream. Well, I don't remember who actually stated this, but someone stated this, that, well, the people who own Ashes of Creation now are gonna make a game, but they are under no obligations to make what Steven promised, because they're different people, you see. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound like a double honeypot, effectively? The first scam got pulled, and now the second one is being already made. This is great.
Other elements do remain unexplained, such as the identity of this board, how the company ended up under different ownership than Sharif, and a few other things. So it's all quite weird. Now, none of this is contradicted by publicly available information, at least of the time of this video's recording. Here's the thing. It is not unusual for a private equity firm to come in, buy something, and then immediately kill it. But if the new owners can offload debt onto a failing entity and then just hang on to the assets, that can actually work better for them than trying to make a game with no creative leads. Now, to be clear, that's what we call a theory, and it's a sort of thing that does happen with private equity firms. But I do think it's a theory that carries some weight given everything else that we've been seeing. Online, we're seeing community members combing through every public filing that they can find. I mean, come on, it's the gaming community. If there is, I don't know, a photo of Shia LaBeouf having a mental breakdown that makes its way onto 4chan, people will find out where Shia planted the flag by looking at the cloud patterns. That's a real story, by the way, but it is to say the internet is damn good at finding things. And by things...
Well, actually, it was the good complaint pattern. Whatever.
I mean UCC liens, tax records, corporate documents, anything that might explain what the hell happened. And what they've found so far paints a picture of a company deeply in trouble. An $850,000 case for unpaid cloud services from December 2025, and then insurance debts from June 2025. To those who already doubted whether Ashes of Creation was legitimate, this just ended up being more evidence that the whole thing was a precarious house of cards. Now obviously there's the question of, is it a scam? I'm going to talk about that a bit later. But as of right now, there is no hard evidence of wrongdoing. But I said hard there. There's no hard evidence. There certainly seems to be evidence of poor financial management, but on there being no hard evidence of wrongdoing, well, there's one man who wants to change that, and his name is Stephen Sharif. I have made a public statement. My next action will be a public filing. I hope that at that point, people have a better understanding of what happened. That's a follow-up message from Stephen Sharif that seems to confirm that he...
Oh, yeah. This is what all of the fanboys are attaching themselves to. Oh, Stephen said he's gonna make it all clear. Wait for him. Wait until Stephen gives us the message. Ah. Pain.
Wants to take this to court. Now, he's advised players to be patient, to avoid jumping to conclusions, and to wait for legal filings to tell the story. Obviously, though, people...
Yes, I mean, it's not like we have heard these same words being said by multiple scammers and fraudulent individuals just to keep the heat off of them. Not like that has happened ever in the past. Oh, whoa.
Don't really want to wait. The Steam reviews for the game have tanked. Of course, that's a little bit immaterial because the game has now been pulled from sale, and those who bought it only 2 months ago are pushing Valve for refunds. Some people are getting those refunds, but that actually raises a thornier question for Kickstarter backers. Intrepid committed to a lofty promise, and it's a promise that goes far beyond Kickstarter's platform obligations. Quote, "And finally, in the case that Ashes of Creation does not launch, we promise to refund all backers in full." So, does Steam count? Ashes of Creation is still an alpha.
Yes.
It never made it to beta. Yet, it is on Steam, and it does bring up another fun little game. You see, the last crowdfunded MMO to collapse like this was Chronicles of Illyria. Now, it saw backers take it to court and walk away with nothing. Now, some people have speculated here that the Steam launch was a last-ditch effort to avoid legal trouble. But considering the time since that promise, the financial collapse that we're seeing now, and Sharif no longer being involved with the company, who the hell would be paying for those refunds? Company sure as hell can't do it. Like, maybe if that refund promise was like a legally enforceable thing, would that mean that the company now owned by the private equity firm would owe money to those people? I mean, I've seen some people basically say, is this just them trying to dump that obligation onto Valve? Obviously, in a case like that, it would not be correct for Valve to be issuing those refunds. It's not really their bag. All that Valve, I think, should really have to do is just stand by their own refund policy. Obviously, though, that's not going to get players their money back. That sucks. This whole thing sucks. And certainly, in a void of information, anger and conspiracy are rife.
Well, that's pretty much it. It is funny. It is hilarious. Again, I love the. I love the. Oh, Steven says he's gonna make everything right. Wait for the post. Those are probably my favorite people because, again, the way that this is set up, they can pull another Ashes of Creation. Oh boy, I cannot wait because there are people definitely stupid enough and gullible enough to actually like do that. I can't wait. I can't wait, boys. Anyway, that was Billion News 10 out of 10. Bye.